The Champions League's playoffs are officially over. Here are my thoughts on it.
Everybody do the flop!
Wow, it looks like Milan really they had every advantage they could and they just dove downwards to failure. Get it? Because it failed. Okay. And listen, credit to Feyenoord. They really give it their best. They really gave it to them. But to be honest, Milan really had the better squad, really had the better opportunity, and they were at home in the second leg. So they have every possible possibility to put themselves maybe 3-0, maybe at the very least 3-1. Maybe Feyenoord scores back and that makes them angry, and now they're like, oh, okay, we got to score, and then they score. Instead, Theo Hernandez literally, well, practically dives, because I know there's going to be a little bit of debate whether or not he dove. In my opinion, he did. He did that as simulation. And yeah, I mean, in a simulation case, it's always going to be a yellow card regardless. And since it was his second, he got sent. And because of that, they lost one of their biggest attacking options and one of their best defensive players. And so because of that, they just completely fell. And then Feyenoord ended up scoring that goal that put them pretty much ahead in the aggregate, and they ended up winning the entire series. So really, it's all on the fall of Milan. They had every opportunity. They had more possession. They had more shots on target, more shots in general. They just couldn't connect. So it's all on them.
This is a pugilistic challenge!
Honestly, the first leg of this matchup was pretty cut and dry. Benfica ended up taking a goal for themselves. So, Monaco really had to, get themselves back up there, get themselves up and rolling. And then they went to Benfica, and for what it's worth, they actually did fight pretty well. They actually did their best. They actually started scoring goals. Benfica was pretty much a back and forth. So when Benfica scored, then Monaco scored, and then it looked like Monaco was scoring, and then Benfica tied, and then it was all up and down. It was all over the place, basically. And up until when Monaco scored that third goal on the fast break, you thought, like, okay, maybe we're going to go to extra time. Maybe Monaco, this is their big opportunity. And then that cross into that little tip-in that really, caused the goalkeeper to go in different directions and stuff like that. Like, he had no idea how to handle that. They ended up scoring that, and Benfica ended up taking away the win. Big ups on Benfica. They actually fought their hardest, and big ups on Monaco as well. They actually gave it their all. But unfortunately, only one can be on top, and Benfica ended up going through 4-3 on aggregate.
Watch out, Champions League. It's time for Atlanta to rock your world.
It's Atalanta.
Atalanta was probably one of the bigger sleeper teams, in my opinion, to make it as far as they could. And yet, for some reason, I don't know what happened in between, behind the scenes. I don't know what could have happened between Lookman and his manager, because apparently they were on bad terms. Especially since today, Lookman released a statement about just the utter disappointment he had about his, just kind of like the reaction between, the manager and stuff like that about him taking the penalty yesterday, which he did miss, to be fair. But at the same time, you can tell that even in that moment, there was like a bit of a disconnect between them. But I didn't think the disconnect would be so bad to the point where they literally get outscored by Club Brugge at every turn. They ended up getting outscored 2-1 in the first leg. And then in the second leg, they proceeded to score 3 on them in the first half, essentially putting the caboose on the whole entire thing, man. That's just not the way it goes, man. And like I said, Atalanta was one of the sleeper teams that I had going forward pretty deep in the tournament, and yet they went out with a whimper. Unfortunately, they just could not handle Club Brugge's offensive-minded, tactics, if you could even call it that. And they ended up going away with the win. They got outscored so badly. I honestly think Atalanta's not going to recover from this anytime soon, I don't think. So it is what it is. Atalanta is officially out of the tournament, and Club Brugge advances to the round of 16.
And then I missed, and then it fired, and then it fired, and I missed.
This is probably one of the more closer matchups in this entire playoff stage. And honestly, it's kind of surprising that it is from Bayern against Celtic of all teams. I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. Celtic is not a bad team by any means. If anything, they're pretty competitive. But you think with a team like Bayern, they probably wouldn't let that slide. They'd probably score maybe like 4, and then, Celtic could strike back with a little 2, and look a little twofer right there, between the two legs, show a bit of that fighting spirit. But you know, that didn't came out this way. If anything, they had more than just fighting spirit. They had an actual opportunity to actually beat them. As a matter of fact, if I look up their stats right now, they had 5 shots on target. No, 5 shots, 3 on target on this match. And while Bayern Munich did have 23 shots and 10 on target, Celtic had probably the more obvious ones, if anything. If they could have put those away, they actually could have won that game easily. And you know what it took to beat Celtic? A late winner from a deflection off of the goalkeeper into Alphonso Davies, who actually read it and actually managed to put it away. By pure accident, I think. He probably didn't mean to hit it the way he did. If anything, it just rebounded off of his leg after the defender tried to clear it. It just so happened to hit him and it went in. Lucky, I guess. But yeah, with that being said, Celtic had a bit of heartbreak, to be honest. I had plenty of hopes for them. I know they lost their striker in Furuhashi, but at the same time, Maeda, he's such a monster, man. I hope he ends up going on another team if people are willing to, you know, if teams are willing to take him in. But if he's loyal to Celtic, I'm not going to blame him for that, honestly. He's a really good player. He's very fast. He's very, you know, quick on action. And he's probably one of the bigger playmakers in Celtic. So, you know, honestly, kudos to him. And so Celtic, their run has ended. Bayern Munich are going up next, either against Leverkusen or against Atletico Madrid.
Meh.
I don't know what to say, really. Sporting really had to let go of Ruben Amorim at probably the worst possible time ever. Ruben Amorim really had something figured out at Sporting, and you could see that in the way they played in the first half of the season. Of course, Gyökeres was probably, you know, one of the bigger reasons why they were scoring so well, but I think the system itself was just very, very solid, very good. And then, of course, they had to get rid of him because Manchester United can't win to save their lives, so why not steal a manager from a winning team in Portugal and completely squander Sporting chances of making it ever further in the Champions League. And to be honest, I still had a bit of an expectation that Sporting were going to do, you know, at least some bit of damage against Dortmund, given that even Dortmund had a bit of trouble. But, you know, they're starting to regain their confidence back a little bit. Nope, not even that. Dortmund just was completely all over them. And honestly, the second leg was just a really nothing game. It was just a matter of Dortmund just putting away the game, putting away Sporting for good. Even if it means not scoring them, it just means not letting them score, basically. So it was a very nothing game, 0-0 at the second leg, and so because of that, Dortmund advances. It's about as simple as it gets.
Do you think Brest could get exposed tonight?
I hope so.
Honestly, this is a very lopsided matchup. You have a team in Brest who, while impressive at the beginning, you know, there was a bit of an inkling that there was probably some level of flukery in that. I mean, they were going up against smaller teams, and you know, for what it's worth, they did go up against some tough teams and ended up winning those as well. But overall, they dropped enough to put themselves into the playoff spot, where PSG, now rejuvenated, ready to go, and with the added attack of Kvaratskhelia and just everybody connecting, it seemed pretty logical that they would get destroyed, and destroyed they did get. I mean, 10-0 on aggregate is nothing to scoff at. That's just mean. That's just bullying. So, yeah, unfortunately, Brest is out. Micah, you're gonna have to find some new material, my guy. Just kidding. He's pretty funny. He's always really funny.
I dreamed of playing for you.
Diamante Calcio.
Another shocker, another Italian team out of the Champions League, and now we're just left with one. Ironically, that one is the one who's not playing in the playoffs, so to speak. So really shows you what kind of quality the Italian teams are dealing with right now, because for what it's worth, they're not doing a good job. And honestly, I think Inter might be next. So you got to be careful. Got to be very careful. You had an inkling that Juventus was going to mess up somehow. I definitely had that inkling. And mess up they did. They had a lot of opportunities to score goals. Some of them hit the post. Some of them just went wide. It's honestly very impressive that Juventus even managed to lose this way, considering the amount of chances they had. But, oh well, PSV just took more advantage of those opportunities, and they ended up winning the game. Who would have thunk? And so PSV takes out another Italian giant, and now we're left with only one Italian team in the Champions League, and they play in the next leg. So good luck to them, I guess.
Be there. Do you care though? Who will be there?
I mean, what do you want me to say? Do you want me to say that Manchester City did the best they could? Do you want me to say that Manchester City could have offered a more closer game than you would have expected? No, they got manhandled like crazy. Honestly, it's kind of impressive just how much Manchester City has fallen off in between these years. And a big year, you know, a big year for them. You know, they have a big case involving the 115 charges. You know, Guardiola's going through a divorce, which, you know, by the way, I'm not going to put that as like one of the sole reasons. But if it is a reason, then that's probably why City are struggling so badly. And of course, just the injuries, big major ones. Rodri still being gone. I think without him, City is literally lost in the midfield for some reason, which for the likes of me, I still don't understand why someone of Pep's caliber cannot recover from, but that seems to be the case. I don't necessarily think the offense would have been a true issue for City. I just think it's more of a case of defending. I mean, for Pete's sakes, they put Kusanov at right back today, man. That tells you a lot. Rico Lewis wasn't even playing that game. They had all this like back of like Akanji, and then you have Ake, you know, you have all these like defensive options, Ruben Diaz, and yet Kusanov, who usually plays center back, got put at right back, a position he's never played before. So guess what, Kusanov, your main job, defend Vinicius Jr. What? They just did not want to play them. They were scared. Pep was scared, and as he should be, because Real Madrid is just a different beast in its entirety. Meanwhile, for Real Madrid, they're just about as comfortable as they can be. Mbappe is starting to look like he's really now looking like he's getting into the zone with this team. This team is just going to be unstoppable now that Mbappe now is feeling himself, and now he's really, really having fun playing with, you know, his teammates and stuff like that. So they'll play the first leg without Bellingham, which I believe it's going to be a big detrimental blow, but hopefully not to the point that you'd think like, oh wow, like they're gonna completely get destroyed by Leverkusen or Atletico, you know. No, not to that point. You know, I just think, you know, if they're looking for a place to get exposed, that's probably one area, but the attack is still going to be efficient. The defense is still as good as it could be. The midfield will be a little bit weak, but honestly, they have plenty of players to fill that role anyway, so it's not like losing Bellingham is just going to be a massive, you know, complete, you know, utter chaos. At least I don't think. Atletico, if they match up against Atletico, that's probably going to be the most dangerous spot for Real Madrid, I think. Bayer Leverkusen has probably been on the little inconsistent side. They started to pick it up a little bit more recently, but I think overall there's still a bit of like that magic that they had last year is kind of gone. They're still in second place, but behind by like 8 points against Bayern Munich. So they're falling off a bit behind, but they could still possibly pull off something crazy. But if they go up against Atletico, these guys will not let up. These guys will completely make their lives miserable. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup depending on what the draw is. So we'll have to wait and see until then. But in the meantime, that's pretty much all the matches, guys. So if you guys enjoyed this little video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if I could probably make more videos like this. Honestly, it's kind of fun to try to see if I can edit this into something nice. But with that being the case, that's all for me. I'll catch you all next time. See ya.